50 bob.
Ni hapa kwenye West TV Saftahi kila siku ya Jumatano.
Wengi walikuwa washakuwa psychologically prepared according to how they voted.
Kuanzia saa 2 hadi saa 3 kwa nami Ruth Songa.
West TV, tazama ilivyo.
Good morning, dear viewers. This is the Morning Scoop. You are on West TV. Morning Scoop comes every Tuesday morning. We do conversations with guests on different issues. Today, we want to remain on matters politics. You see, the whole region, Western, has been treated to a very large promise, but delivery of value from that promise. Today we want to just lay it bare. We want to interpret that and see what it means. Does it have to do with us who received the promises, or does it have to do with that who promises? He who promises and doesn't do what they promised, or maybe we promise large but we deliver small and we are still happy. Does it have something to do with us, or is it someone who is doing it that has an issue? So those are the things we're going to talk about today. And my guest in studio is not a new one. He's one of those modest guys. Hello, how are you?
Hello, brother, how are you?
He was so modest. If I were you, I could be introducing myself as the chief proprietor, director, CEO, chairman.
He doesn't capture the core functions of what I do. What I do is serve people, so the most high-ranking position I hold in my hotels is chief waiter.
You see, that's how modest he is. You're so welcome.
Welcome, sir.
How are you?
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mr. Fula Buke is a proprietor of Zuri Hotels. He's one of those guys who are expanding very fast. And yeah, he's a big man in his own way. He doesn't like to admit. But all right, thank you for coming on the show today.
Thank you, sir.
As we look at matters Western, you see, I thought of who can be able to help us understand this. I thought you could be the best one. Why? Because you don't have any interest. You don't have any leaning.
It's true.
So you can tell me, or can tell the viewers what it is really happening. But before we go to the show, the proverb, the moon promises light, but it cannot banish or eliminate darkness. Yeah.
I don't feel competent to respond, but since I'm here, without a co-speaker, I have to try.
Yes.
I think the proverb points at the strengths of the moon, or capacities of the moon, and similarly its limitations or dependencies. For it to emit light, it has to get it from somewhere, and it is incapable of having any comment on darkness because it doesn't generate that darkness. All it does is play the function of projecting that light to another part of the world. So I think it's a humble proclamation by the moon that maybe I can give light, but darkness, I also have no comment. I just think maybe, is that, what do you think? I don't know.
Okay, Western Kenya. You see, before we talk about Western Kenya, I just want you to comment on the rising temperatures nationally. A few days ago, the former Minister for Public Service, who is also the former Attorney General, talked some things, made some revelations. We in the media were calling it the bombshell. Then yesterday, the former Deputy President also had his share of bombshell to deliver. Those two figures seemed to raise a specific level of temperature politically to the country. Of course, the things they're talking about, we don't see them. we hear them. So there is no way of knowing whether what he's saying is true or not true. But revelations from the two guys tell us what the Azimio leader at some point told us, that these are very political, very corrupt fellows. And at some point he said, how can you take a thief to be in charge of the treasury? So those statements, as we are seeing them being revealed from day to day, what is your take on that?
You know, I watch TikTok, and one of the interesting things about TikTok is the animal wildlife, where the lion, the hyenas meet over an antelope. And when hyenas occasionally find certain wild hyena, leopard, and whatever, they rush for an antelope. When they think it's gone, they start struggling over it, and the fight erupts. And the fighter didn't even forget about the antelope, and the antelope runs away, and they remain with injuries inflicted on themselves. What we're experiencing is a fight of the hyenas over an antelope that's gotten so intense that they are inflicting pain on themselves and giving the antelope a chance to escape. For me, it is the case of what Mao said some time ago, that we're using the enemy's fist to hit at our enemy, fighting against themselves. I think for me the challenge for now is how do those who mean well for this country, how do the antelopes take advantage of the infightings of these hyenas for us to really craft a new future? Okay. That to me is what I gather. And their fight manifests in parading the dirt that they did not tell us. Because of the fight over the antelope, now they're exposing what they all agreed to keep in the closet and not bring out. So I think it's a sweet moment for the Kenyan people. Because when these people are cohesive, we can't get to know what they're doing.
Yes.
Yeah. They select themselves alone. You look at government, there's no single person who comes from the reform background. So it is a closely knit gang left intact. We can't know what's going on. Now, Ruto is able to tell us his own dirt. Then Gachagua, I think whom I consider more authoritative, brings that even greater dirt. This is all important in laying the foundation for trying to craft a future under maybe an alternative leadership.
So you are saying the two sides that are pulling apart are doing it in readiness for the real revolution, is laying the ground for the third way alliance, not a quote one, but the middle ground at which true reformists can be able to stand on and deliver progress for this country.
Yeah, that is, I think, the nation is challenged. I hope those in the steering, because some of us have been relegated to the villages, or maybe we should get out of our villages and go and assist. But if we have to read the game properly, this is our moment. A moment when these fellows are inflicting on each other irreparable damages. They're giving us sufficient ammunition to take the people and say, look, this is how this one looks like. This is how this one looks like. And you can't doubt, because they're all bringing out information.
Yes.
He says he has even recorded those conversations.
Yes.
And when someone says recorded, we're waiting for Ruto to say, please play them. If he is genuine, he thinks he's right and Gachagua is wrong, I'm hoping that he's going to say, please, Gachagua, I'm all yours, play those steps. I don't think he'll play them, because that is further strengthening our grasp of how they are operating. Yeah.
Matters Western. You see, this community enjoys more promise than delivery of value. While we see some things being done, like they can do a stadium is done, that's okay. A road or two has been done, which is that's okay. A school or a hospital has been done, which is okay, to a certain extent, not to completion. But then, it's not even 30% of the real promise that we get as a community. And when the president comes to the region, he doesn't deliver, or he doesn't announce or launch any completed project that he promised he will do and he has done. So what does that make us? Is it as the people of Western Kenya that are a problem, that we don't notice that we're being taken for a ride? Or is it that whoever promises doesn't care about us, so he can say anything to pass time and then come and promise something else, or repeat promising the same thing, and we don't even count it because it's in our culture, it's in our nature.
It is common practice these days in matters, ideas, to speak without making a reference to history. I don't agree with that. I think it's important for us to also be historical, understand where does this culture of falsehoods emanate. I think it goes back up to independence time. The government that was formed at independence, it was founded on a false foundation by false people whose mission was to spread hope as they grab. That was it. I will remember that. I remember that Pioga Mapinto, you know, when he saw Kenyatta grabbing, when I thought, please, let's take care of the Mau Mau. And Kenyatta said, leave me alone, something like that. So he went and developed a list of the farms that were being stolen and wanted to go and move a motion of no confidence in Parliament. What did they do? They shot him. They shot him to eliminate opposition to the politics of falsehoods, the politics of promising, selling hope in a hopeless situation, and supporting messengers of death as opposed to real leaders of change. And this has gone on. We used to talk of Uhuru na Mashamba. They changed it to Uhuru na Kazi. And don't expect land you've already taken. Just work, make money, and get land, which is not why independence was being fought for. So this culture of having leaders, some have called them dealers, taking power and using power to service themselves and prepare the children to also come and rule us. Well, Kenyatta did that, grabbed everything. We don't even have the capacity to quantify how much he has because both here and abroad. Now you come to Moi, something. In fact, I was just being told the other day by a top guy that there was a scramble over property in the Moi family.
Yes.
But you see, Gideon was given a code to some bank that had dollars in words I can't mention. And when he saw it, he left the family to struggle over those other things and focus on the big wealth that he has.
Yes.
And you know, wealth is not nothing. It is what is going to give us leaders tomorrow. The reason why Uhuru Kenyatta is ruling us is not because of charisma. I think Adungos had better charisma than him. But it's because of the wealth that they are put together.
Yeah.
Now, Ruto comes on stage. What is he doing?
The son.
One of the sons is about to have a share in Zoya.
Yes.
About 10% is supposed to be given to our local leaders. Okay? Then one of the sons goes in partnership with some Indian, and then they'll own Zoya. Why those shares? Why the grabbing of billions?
The privatization that was being told.
Yes. I was talking to a top leader 3 days ago who challenged some big man here. What's our share? And he said, we shall talk about that later. And Zoya is big.
You see,
Sorry.
when you go on before.
No, it's okay. Just proceed.
You see, the issue of Nzoia is at the heart of the Bungoma politics. How do these guys manage to play with us over Nzoia over and over? When Pepper was here, they played over Pepper over and over until it was sold for a song. Now, Nzoia is here. The issue of privatization. The idea of privatization may have with your revelations now that the president's son is involved, may have actually been in the works before even talk of privatization started.
It's true. So we have a challenge. The challenge is, we're talking about false hopes. What is the head of state telling us? Here. Hope here, hope here. Yet we're about to lose a great cow in the economy. Lose to who? To the same guy. So, just saying that from independence, the foundation of our politics was crafted by hyenas, and their mission is to keep themselves in power in perpetuity. And not only do they do it by seeing to it that one critical factor of production, factors of production economics are lands, industries, what. But the critical factor, the most critical factor is labor, the personnel, the leadership.
Yes.
I say that because hyenas and leopards live in the forest. They have not made sense out of it.
Yes.
It is us who have the leadership capacity to make sense out of the main means of production, which is land. Now, for us, the labor we can talk about is political leadership. Is the political leadership we have capable of giving us the software, the hardware to create value from the environment that we're living in? Ask yourself, who is the MP for Sirisia? Sam Corporal.
Yes.
Who is the MP for Kimilili? Sam Sergeant. I mean, I'm just saying that then the one who was here was another private from the police. I'm just saying that as a people, we have failed to have the capacity to create the labor force that can negate these falsehoods being perpetrated by hyenas in power.
But you see, that's what I say.
Yeah.
Is it us? It is us
Yes.
as a people.
Yeah.
And actually, it could be a cultural thing. Because if it was the leaders and we are discerning enough, we could have seen this long time ago and could have changed it. But then it is us who have a problem, right?
It's true.
How do we change that?
Our problem is deep. I was talking to a gentleman from CJ called Kutete Matumbai, an intellectual who has been discarded somehow by the system. And he was telling me, he was talking of, where did that Bukusu go? Which Bukusu? The Bukusu who believed in the truth. The Dini Msamba says the slogan for Dini Msamba is Wungali the Winyidaf. Truth and courage. You get? And you run through our history, you see bravery featuring, making turning decisions that turn people's eyes to look at the other side of life. So the truthful leadership, the intellectuals we tried to rely on as we managed to evolve as a people, they have been wiped out by time, over time.
And we never had people stepping into their shoes as these guys are.
Now it's retrogression, because now the leadership that is emerging has to be propelled by the owners of resources. So we end up having the most liquid occupying position as opposed to the most morally upright. And there's a contradiction. Those who are morally upright can't engage in economic crimes. They can't do yellow pages, kujaza hizo tender forms. I have never filled one tender form myself. I don't want to fill it. I just want to do my straightforward business, counting how many ugalis I've sold, how many jisufa I've sold, changa, then I find out what I've gotten. But the shortcut making money these days is simple. You just go to Saka or some other person, get a tender for 10 million, spend 3 million, become a millionaire. So now, the tragedy with this system of appropriating the nation's output is that it ends up fueling the hyena camp of leaders as it emasculates those of us who believe in positive values. Yes. So in a trap which is which points at how do we get out of it? It's not easy, but it is possible, because the colonialists had all these other things, but he was engaged and managed to give way. The other day, Ruto had to take a break from presidency and used the software of the GNC. Reason? They used another approach that doesn't require money, but puts the masses of the people together to say, talk to us or else, that kind of thing. So I think that there is hope, but the challenge is there. The leadership we have in the region, the leadership we have here, can never have the capacity to help us solve our problems.
But you see, there is a word you guys use when you mention the systemic issues. Every time we come to that conclusion, it leaves us hopeless. There's no way, because the same leaders are there. And we just mentioned, morally upright people don't have the financial capacity to mount a decent campaign. Now, as a people, we want to vote for someone who has given us something. How do we say that I've eaten his shilling, so I must vote for him, regardless of who he is? Let's just give him for these 5 years, then we can change later. With something that never changes. Now, against a morally upright guy who will actually serve for these guys, work for these guys. So we end up electing people who don't have national interest at heart, but their own selfish interest. How come, what is, you are leaving us in a position to conclude that the cycle is not going to end?
This is how I think the system is helping us. I talked about the fallout in the kitchen. That fallout is important because ultimately it has to educate the worker, the voter, that something is wrong. The other emergence, which is giving us hope, is that the Ruto Must Go song has a foundation. The beauty about theft and thievery and corruption stretched to the fullest extents is that it creates desperation among the people. The moment one can't eat 2 meals and feed on porridge alone, that's a classroom. And I think that so many of us are in the library learning how bad it is to have a bad government.
Yes.
Courtesy of their own mismanagement. The hospitals not delivering. Education, crazy. Everybody's selling land to educate children who come back and become jobless. Now, that is what's going to turn things around. But the challenge is, even as we get awakened to understand that we need to solve our problems, whom do we look to for leadership? Do you go back to the hyenas? It's very risky because they are the same ones who are going to come back and say, please, let us lead this caravan of hope. They themselves are taking us back again to where we started from. So I think those who understand must take up the challenge of making sure that the voter is made to understand that the enemy looks like this, drives these types of cars, dresses like this. I think they dress like you. You look very smart today. Yes, yeah, today you're very smart.
Thank you.
Maybe always, I don't know. Yeah, but
so these are the enemy dresses?
No, the enemy dresses like this. This is expensive suit. This is not an ordinary suit, I can tell. So they have to be able to know that the enemy dresses like this, drives these types of car, goes to these particular hotels, eats like this, drinks this type of drink. Once you've understood and you know who the enemy is. You know, when I was at the university as a student political activist, in my days, when university was anchored on the suffering workers and peasants of the world, you could not address people in a suit because you look like the enemy. Why are you dressing like Jojo? You can dare not put on, at least never 3-piece. You can't say one word. You'll be pulled out. So in the same way, we also want to educate our people that this is how the enemy dresses. This is how they speak. They don't say the Kenyan people, they say the Bukusus. They keep tribalizing things. Then we also tell them that we have had leaders who had a different way of talking. People like Masinde Muliro comes to Sirisia and speaks in Kiswahili, addressing his people, and tells them anybody can lead. He doesn't have to be a Bukusu alone. And he's talking to his own Bukusu. Which leader does that? All the leaders say, we, this time us. That's how they all speak. And if you talk to our people here, all of them speak the same language. I may not be the best, but I'm all you have. That's their language. All they want is band you together on the basis of your tongue, not on the basis of how your coffee is performing. So I think even as the economy continues educating our people on why they should resist this system, they have to understand that this is a national cartel that has characteristics that have been understood. Then from there, we move to what type of people should replace them. Once our people understand that, then I think we have hope that these contradictions will help us move to the next level.
You see, we know that. Trust me, when you talk to the people out there, we know this.
Yeah.
Yet we keep on believing them and voting for them. So is it hope? Is it lack of alternative? Is it desperation? Because at that point, that crucial moment where we need to make our vote count, we'll keep on voting the same guys. So is it because we don't have alternative? You just mentioned, I'm all you have. It means there's no alternative.
You see, it takes time to rework people's consciousness and people's awareness. It takes time. Today, if you got a four-wheel car, black in color, hopefully Prado, from nowhere, and drove through a village, you know what the villagers say? Who is that?
Yes.
If you, these fellas come properly. I think this boy, can we talk to him?
Yes.
Leave alone that. If you go to a market and stop, people come. Because you look like those who have it and those who lead them.
And the entitlement now begins at that point.
It is. So now, if you have to work on that. You know, when I tried to stand in Sirisia against my understanding of what drives bourgeois politics, I went to places, moved around. I went to a place like Rwandanyi. I opened some computer services, some library kind of thing, try to talk to the community, and that's my clan. The Chemwiles are very dominant there. And looked like I had taken some hold of that space. What does my opponent Waluke do? He comes one evening at 6. Of course, he has timed well. The crowd is a bit small. Comes and says, people, I'm in a hurry. I just stopped by to make sure that you can also have tea tomorrow. Are you able to? So people say, we don't want anybody else. You're the person who makes sense.
Including your relatives.
So those are my relatives.
Your relatives.
They are my relatives, members of my clan. So then people queued. Said, don't harass yourselves. This man I have, you can't finish. Of course, he has checked. He knows about 50 people because evening people have gone home. So those who are pregnant, those who are women, those old men, and don't hurry. This money is enough. 200. My friend, when I came back, I look at them, they look down.
What the 200 did?
What the 200 did. They finished, I'm sure, the following day. My computers were still there. The money that I'd eaten was gone. Yeah. But I had been floored. So I came to learn that we need the very sharpened contradictions, and I think they're here. When extreme poverty must wake up the brain of a person.
You see, I think we do have alternatives.
Yes.
In Tongaren, 2017, there was something akin to that. You see, Chikati was running against someone else.
Yeah.
And someone
Eseli.
No, not Eseli. During the
primaries.
Then Eseli's guys decided to team up with the Chikati's guys, saying that if they floor this guy, then
to have it easier.
It's easy for Eseli to floor Chikati. And that's what happened in 2017. So Chikati's guys, actually they will talk about it on Tandao. They'll say, we're going to stand with the Chikati to make sure that Ekwani doesn't make it. Because if Jekwana goes through nominations, they say they will not make it.
Yeah.
So they knew it. So if that is the kind of calculation we have, then it means we have alternatives. But then it's us who don't want to use the alternatives.
No, they need the details, the tactics, the strategies and the tactics will vary from situation to situation, depending on the special circumstances of the place. But the global view, the global situation is that we have an ideology that has been sold to our people. It has sunk, and there is need for us to rework that. But I think there is hope now because we're being assisted by the changed material conditions of the people's lives. I think it will not be difficult for us to talk about a new path. If only the progressive elite get organized at the top there, rather than enjoy watching these hyenas staring each other. Yeah.
You see, another issue comes up almost immediately. Do politicians tell lies deliberately? They actually plan to deceive the voters.
You know, it's a very frustrating process because and they select things. You know, like I've heard of people say, you help me. And do you remember that saying?
Bugundu wenya vene. In Maragol they say that. Bugundu wenya vene. As in, it means I will have no problem with you as long as you are mine.
Yes.
And you are dead. So I'll still walk with you.
That is rotten rots for the owner. Scientifically speaking, a rotten thing doesn't rot for anybody. When it rots, we all run away.
Yes.
Get it buried quickly. Otherwise, we also follow it.
Yes.
But you see now, they do selective. They select wisdom that serves their cause. They say, na bora, na iba, na muiba paka. Lakini so wenyewe. Kimi akino kios nawe. All these years I've been in power, but I've done nothing for you. But I'm yours. I am rotten, I agree. But please, that is rotten is rotten for you because it's yours. But scientifically, the reason why we have lorries carrying rubbish and going to throw it is because anything rotten must be disposed with the fastest possible process. And if you delay, the council must help you dispose that particular thing, including a dead body. So I'm saying that they lie to perpetuate themselves. They mobilize you around false things. Instead of mobilizing you around the economic problems, saying coffee, saying we don't get enough from maize, saying, please, Ruto, Ruto has planted maize in Goma, which is true, a lot of maize. And he'll play around with the prices to make sure that he sells his fast. Then after selling his, we get into problems. Instead of mobilizing you around issues which make the economies better, they mobilize you around leadership. That we are not far, we're just 2 steps to capturing power. We're the third in command. We're the running mate. Usale is PM. You see? So we end up forgetting what's fundamental and pursue things that don't make sense.
So how can we as the voters do to change that? Who is going to stand and drill that into the voters, especially the Western Kenya voting bloc?
Yes.
Because it has always been, it's called what? There's a word they use, meaning it's not important to have Western as long as you get a fee from Western. Yeah.
I think let's borrow from the national trend. The national trend is that there's one song which I hear everywhere, including disco places, and I go to Mombasa and other places. Ruto must go, okay? That is at the national level. In fact, it's no longer Ruto. It's Ruto and even Raila and his cohorts. They must all go. That's the slogan. Now, what does it mean? How does it translate into our situation? The situation has also to be the local allies of those people up there who must go must also go. So the starting point is for us to say we need a clean start. Let those who are in power and our friends to those who must go also go. Okay? Now, if that is accepted by the people of a county here, then the next thing becomes, who should replace them? Because they must go because of the association with up there, those we pick will obviously be the opposite of those who are in positions of responsibility
Yes.
right now. And that, to me, there is a reduced margin of error. Because you are picking, there's a criteria that has been put
Yes.
that he who supports those in power is not an ally. So then, with that logic picked up, it is possible for us to start thinking, emerging with a new leadership.
Okay.
And also, I think that along with the must go thing comes the criteria, comes the qualities that are required for leadership have also to be the opposite of those who are in power. You know, I liked what happened the other day when, you know, in the olden days, a leader was he never declared himself. He never sold himself. Old men sat together, looked at all the children out there and said, which child can we rely on so who was the next level? Because this one has failed. Then they go that home and talk that fellow. We know you're making a lot of money out there, but please, we are your fathers and mothers. We have a problem here. Leadership is key in our economic development. Come and help us. So that child would come and then stand for leadership and move them to another level. Now, what happened the other day was, what has happened is that people, young people, the Generation Z, they went to Maraga, told Maraga, Mzee, from your age mates, you look like you can help us move to the next level. I hear the same team went to Okiya Omtata. Told him, man, you're a good boy, you've lived well all through. Can you help us move to the next level? Now, that is new. It is not emerging without a reason. It's emerging because there is a critical need for change. So here also, we need groupings, people coming together and say, now, this county government, how many years of non-delivery? Others are factories, others are many things. For us, we don't know what we have, because there's nothing. Who can help us move to the next level? The moment those groups come together,
Yes.
we shall say, Kitui, we've checked and you don't have anything theft on your CV. You're just not rich enough. Can you please help us move to the next level in terms of leadership? I think that is a trend we ought to go back to. One where we look for leadership as people, as opposed to leaders coming to manipulate us
Yes.
to back them.
And you know,
One of the many.
that means we need to advance that narrative.
Yes,
And of course, the media is one of the platforms.
yes,
When you guys were emerging, late 80s, early 90s, the civil society was very powerful. It could fact check and challenge the status. Do you think the media and the civil society can be able to build that narrative, to give room, to help these think tanks around, to who can be able to come up with new leadership structures in the communities? Do you think the civil society and the media can fact check and help out in that?
yeah. I think you imply the truth that the civil society, by its very nature, is independent of political leadership and governance up there. They are a neutral sector. I think the sector can also be deployed on that particular mission.
Yes.
And it's very unfortunate that we have a situation where the most critical component of the civil society, which is most populated, called the religious sector, unfortunately, has also been co-opted in those criminal games of inviting thieves to give them money. Yeah. Now, in the ideal situation, we would expect that the religious sector would come together and say, what do we do? Can we please, because this country is going down, can we ask so and so to stand and we all together back it? They can't do that. The reason why they can't do that is because each of them receives money independently. And such an agenda cannot come out.
Because
You remember Sapit went to Parliament and came out to State House, to is it Arambe House, Ruto's office, and walked out an envelope. No more, just carrying money. So now this behind the scenes acts of corruption that co-opts the civil society as well also challenges the possibility of the civil society helping us move forward. And I think that in the absence of a credible civil society, what the young people did is a lesson. People should come together on the basis of the problems they are facing, as opposed to being prisoners of the civil society or any other group. But the civil society and the ordinary people have the mandate and the assignment to really try and deliver on that.
You see, in the recent past, from last year actually, we started having tower movement. Initially, it had, I think the focus was to challenge Mudavadi and Wetangula. Okay? But the Natembeya campaign of late has ballooned. The focus is national. Every time he makes a comment, it's national. Of course, anchored here, locally in Western, but is focusing nationally. His approach has attracted a number of criticism. One of them was Otieno, some columnists in a local newspaper who said he's being funded or sent by somebody else. Now, do you think any serious, level-headed politician can emerge without that tag that this guy is not his own?
Yeah, first, if you look at the origins of the Natembeya leadership, Wetangula leadership, and the leaderships that we have here, I think they have served the same God. Natembeya served the same God as Weta, and together they all serve the same God. Fact, you can't just change at the age of 50, whatever, then all of a sudden become a complete radical. Those you don't have. But that does not mean he can't provide value addition to leadership. But the truths have to be laid down, that they have come from the same church, and they have taken a break. One has gone to another church, another has gone to the church, but the same God. But there is something positive that comes out of two enemies fighting. They give their common enemy a break. For me, Weta fighting with Natembeya, it creates sufficient cracks in the systems for alternative leaderships to emerge. Yeah. Because one, Natembeya must have credible leadership to challenge Weta. If he just has the Mukwes, you know Mukwe, the former MP, if he has the Mukwes, you see, if Mukwe was around and we have such a contest, he can't pick Mukwe. He'll pick a Majimbo, somebody who is a bit better, yes. Okay? Because there is challenge. So as they fight, they create conditions for some legitimate leaderships to emerge at the grassroots.
So the right question we should be asking is this legitimate alternative leadership ready to take up the challenge? That is the right question.
In my view, if you listen to Weta's Nani, who is this guy, Natembeya's troops, oh, they're smart people, smart boys, young people, you know, speaking new ideas. And why are they credible? It is not because Natembeya is credible. It's because he needs a credible team to engage his opponent. So in like manner here, I think Weta can give us, Weta knows the risks of giving us a stupid governor, because it means a credible one will be picked and will have a heavy challenge. Let me just, I don't know, it's fair, but I was with him not so long ago, and he told me to support Didmas. I told him I know what it requires what needs to be in a governor. And at your personal level, the first person is going to betray you is this gentleman. He was seated with me there. This one is going to be a first traitor, not to mention the many things which he will do which are opposite of what we need.
Yes.
I'm just saying that because there is competition, I can have the privilege to be asked by a speaker to back somebody.
Yeah.
In the absence of challenge, he can't campaign. He'll just say, this one, like Raila does, and be elected. So I want to think that the existence of competition between Natembeya and Weta compels them to look for credible people who legitimately get votes, and that for me is transition. Yeah.
Western Kenya is not just Bungoma.
Yeah.
Where does that leave Mudavadi or Paranya? Those are two big people in this region also.
Yeah, we have a history as a people from this part of the world. And as Kutete Natembeya was telling me, we need to find out, where did that Bukusu when you go? You see, this place was a bedrock of democratic struggles. Right from independence days up to we emerged. We emerged as operatives in the struggle for change, and we symbolized that Bukusu who believed in real ideas that can help the people.
Yes.
Camp 92, we produced the best brains across the country. And we made one special thing. As a community, we backed Jaramogi, the only credible person at 1992 to lead us forward. We scored by allying ourselves with genuine democratic forces. Now, what has happened? Now, everything has turned upside down. Bungoma supported William Ruto, the most corrupt person in the world. He won that election. Most corrupt, but they changed and said, no, because it's not too bad, let's make him number 2. The second worst president in the whole world was backed by Bukusus. Yeah? So now, when history is written, what will they say about this generation? When history is written in 1992, what do people say about that generation? A credible generation. Go to Independence Times. Even after independence, we come to Masina Murilo Saki Mangale over the JM Karaoke. We are a morally credible people from behind. But right now,
what changed over that years?
We are at our worst and need to find out, where did that Bukusu who was respected globally, who was respected nationally, who was valued nationally, go?
But then,
now I was just coming to the Vihiga issue.
Yeah.
I'm trying to rank our various communities. So right now, if we speak about loyal leadership, we do not qualify to provide anything because we're crazy. We're backing thieves. We're backing murderers. We're backing people who have committed all crimes in the Bible. We've broken all the 10 commandments. That's us, if we go by the vote that we give. So now let's go to Kakamega. Kakamega is a bit more credible. They didn't back that. They didn't back this government. They beat progressive. They listened to the people and kind of say, no, let's ally with the alternative to what we have now. In my view, they rank high. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, when you go to Vihiga, in my opinion, they even rank better. Because Musalia himself lost the member of parliament for his constituency. He lost to Uda, meaning there's confusion and people want anything else other than his leadership. That's progress. The same people elected a governor from from one subcommittee, Wanyore, elected a senator from the same community. That is a community that is thinking new. It's trying to think about how do we get out of this mess. Okay? At the Musalia local level, they need him out. Therefore, anything they vote for, anything opposite is what they go for. And it comes to uniting to deal with leadership, they're picking the best from anywhere. Okay?
Yeah.
And that is Bunyore. So I want to think that in terms of the stimulation of progressive consciousness, Vihiga ranks top, and Kakamega comes second, and we are the ugly tail pullers.
Look at the numbers that voted across the region. It was not even 20%. of the eligible voters.
Thank you.
Does it mean that the right voters didn't vote because they thought the vote would count?
I think you said it very well. I agree with you that protests come in various forms. It can be by active engagement or by withdrawal, saying let's wait for another time rather than expending our precious energies in a process that leads us backwards. Yeah.
You see, I'm trying to imagine if at all 2022, 30 years down the line from 1992, I want to believe that the 1992 20% that voted in 2022 was still there, but they were overwhelmed by the pro-change movement. That was in 1992, right?
Yes.
In 2022, the 70% didn't go to vote to let the 30% have their say. Okay?
Yes.
That is how the president got the votes he got from Bungoma.
I think so.
Now, if we reawaken this 70% from Bungoma, and not just Bungoma, but the entire region, because go to Busia the same, Kakamega the same, out of the 800 plus, 900 plus voters, only 400 did the voting. The majority didn't vote.
Yes.
Now, go to Vihiga the same. Now, if we reawaken the forward-thinking, level-headed voters in the region to vote right, okay, we can actually effect change.
Yeah.
So what I was looking for is Western Kenya has always been a swing vote. So the swing vote that we are going to get in 2027 is actually going to come from this region, but it's going to go to the direction that the country will want to go.
Yeah, that I think is true. I think that we have one potential strength, which is a culture of accommodating leadership that's credible regardless of where it comes from. In my view, that's not a weakness. Of course, our local leaders say, no, yeah, we are many and we can't produce a candidate. Please, this country is bigger than anything. We just need to solve our problems. We don't need to enjoy the pride of having one of your own up there when all it's doing is destroying your country. I want to think that the strength that the Luhya have is the capacity to see something positive in a person who comes from Kenya, regardless of where they come from.
Yes.
In my view, that spirit can also be deployed right now in sourcing for the best leadership at the national level. Yes. Let's not go back to saying that Musalia is ours. Musalia is not ours. Musalia is his own man. Eats for himself. Has no time supporting things which will help us grow. Look at what he speaks every day. He's employed to support crime in government. Yeah. So now, the same thing with the local leadership, I must say. Yeah, the Wetas and all those other people. Yeah. So what we have to do is keep that spirit and say, whom sincerely do we have who can help us out of this pack of hyenas that have invaded the granary and are finishing everything for the country and eating into the future. Wow. If we do that, then you may just find that maybe Okiya Omtatah is the best Luhya we have. Maybe. This boy from down here may be the best. He doesn't have to be a Bukusu. He doesn't have to be a Kakamega person. He doesn't have to be a Mteso or anything. Maybe let's learn from this boy. Okay? If we deploy that spirit of choosing.
Yes.
We may also say, how about Maraga? Actually, he looks older. He has more stable hands. He has run a big institution. Can we try this old man? As people are saying, that spirit of accepting leadership from outside is not a weakness. It is a strength that can be used to neutralize the cows from other parts of the country. There are cows are here who just support anything that anybody says. We're not cows. We're able to think independently.
Let's conclude like this.
Yes, yes.
You see, this community generally has never had a problem having anybody from outside to lead them.
Yes.
History shows us that.
Yes.
Until whoever is leading them betrays the trust.
Yes.
So once you betray the trust, that's where the problem starts. But initially, when the community decides to back somebody from outside the community, they all go for it. We have that in history. I'm saying that to say we must start thinking of structural change in matters leadership nationwide.
Yes.
Right? Number one. Number two, we must be able to think of how the level-headed, level-minded people who are the voters who are supposed to now propel the right leadership to take up positions, both nationally and locally. But then, as you conclude, how do we make that come to reality?
It is a tough question, and that's why we all don't know, but by now we ought to be getting there. You know, in 1992, talking about this particular county, there was a group that came together called Bungoma Professionals.
Yes, headed by Kasili.
Professor Kasili, Bungoma Professionals. A very powerful collection of professionals who meant well. I think that team of professionals, of course, provided the resources to support Omala Kijana, who had no kiosk in the whole country, including a home. He didn't have it. But because the team came together, they managed to propel him to some place. Unfortunately for them, they had Bukusu leadership as the objective. That was the shortcoming. In fact, my reaction to the formation of the Bungoma Professionals was to start what I called the Unemployed People's Movement. And we did some things. It even appeared on newspapers claiming that we are being funded by Museveni, that kind of thing. But the issue was grassroots mobilization, grassroots organization, coming together, because you can't call 100 professionals. You need a lot of money to buy them. So you must do a deal with them that takes the form of a change in leadership. So we have to go back there and say, you guys who claim to have gone to school, can you apply your knowledge in resolving the leadership challenge you have in Bungoma? I had a preliminary meeting with people like Dr. Walela, somebody had a doctor down here, who else? Well, there are other people. And I was saying that we need to go back there. But you see, even as we do that, we are challenged because the kraal, Sisiaki, the kraal that we have in Bungoma has also compromised those professionals. They ally themselves to persons who promise individual gain. Yes. So coming together becomes difficult because there is red meat to be harvested here. It was easier for them to consider themselves as professionals when there was nothing that could be gained. But now that there's something concrete that must come every year, every month, they are unable to capture their original independence and come together and provide ideological leadership for our people. And I'm sure if we ever brought together those professionals, they'll be broken up into pieces according to the number of candidates that we have in the county. That's the challenge we have, but that's where we should go.
It's 3 minutes past 10 o'clock. That is how I start having problems with my producer. Hello, good morning, my brother. He's doing fine. We have to end here.
Okay.
What's your final word?
My final word to our people is to tell them that we must stop swallowing that pill of false hope. Let us start our political thinking from the challenges that we have in our houses and in our lives, and use those challenges to know how to relate with those things up there. There is nobody who has a brain proper who follows that logic and ends up saying, anyway, I don't have food, I don't have school fees, I don't have medication, but let me choose this one because of Bukusu. No. You will end up choosing what solves your problems. And I conclude by saying that this has to be stretched up to the national platform. At that national level, let us know, Gachagua, Ruto, all those people, Musalia, Weta, all those people, they are one. Raila has joined us, he has abandoned us. He's now with them. Let us think new. What is new at the national level? Maraga is new. Okiya Mtata is new. And several other new people. I think that if we think new, we may just end up having a change. We have one strength on our side. Our children are brighter, more committed than us. So as they lead, we shall follow them and change this country for the better.
Thank you so much for staying with the Morning Scoop. We look forward for more engaging conversation next week when we look at something else. Thank you so much, my brother. Thank you so much for finding time to come and talk to us. I want to invite you to continue sending those messages. West TV _Kenya on X, West TV on Facebook. The show runs live on YouTube every day. Please leave those comments, subscribe, share, like, whenever you're on our social media. You can always find me at Mr. Kitui on X or Hwasimiti CKS on Facebook. Until next week, on behalf of my director, Kelvin Kibet, this is CKS.
We have a break, eh?